Welcome back to Switzer on Australia's Business Channel. Sitting next to me is Aussie icon businessman John Singleton. He's telling me his vision for the flying kangaroo on a day when Qantas got into bed with Emirates for 10 years. So, John, let's get back to it. It's been reported around June this year that you might be an interested buyer of Qantas with possibly Jeff Dixon and Mark Carnegie. Are you still a potential player?
Well, we have a little secret society meetings where we look at what's on the market and what's not.
And today you bought a pub today, the Marlborough in Newtown, for $12.150 million.
Yeah, probably can afford more pubs than we can airlines.
Yes.
But to have a substantive stake in Qantas, you can mount now a compelling case for it.
Yeah.
It's coming down to about where our expectations are, and we have been selling a lot of assets for the last 7 or 8 years, as you would have noted, TV, and all our Indonesian assets, and Lonely Planet and lingerie.
And you're no longer in Magic Millions?
No, we've nothing but selling. We haven't bought anything except pubs. As you know.
Yeah.
Well, they pay.
You wanted to own pubs that they couldn't kick you out of, isn't it? That was the philosophy, wasn't it?
Well, someone quoted that, and I couldn't deny it.
I just made that up. I didn't realise that, but knowing you, that's a pretty fair one. But okay.
But I think if a consortium were put together, I'd certainly be interested in investing a substantial amount of my net worth. I can't talk for Carnegie or Dixon, nor can I talk formally, because there's any one of a basket of companies that you think, gee, they're undervalued if they were run properly.
Yeah.
And Qantas is one. I'm just more attracted to Qantas at the moment because I'm back in the I never left the advertising world, really. Yeah. But I'm amazed that in the first 3 years I've been back in business, this is my third advertising agency, has grown quicker than the first two.
Yeah.
And there's this
what's that called, the new agency?
Banjo.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
As in Banjo Patterson.
Yeah.
And Alan Johnston from Mojo is famous again since How's That with Kerry Packer? Come on, Aussie, come on. We've got all the best young people around town, all under 30.
And some good old ones as well.
Oh, no, we just go past and say, good boys, good girls. Yeah?
Okay.
But it's interesting to meet the CEOs of these companies who are struggling. They're not interested in the new media. They're interested, or they are, of course, they're interested more in finding out a group of people who understand advertising and marketing, who understand their brand, who can understand their customers.
Yeah.
And part of that, a tiny little part of it, is automatically advertising. They don't come to buy an ad. They want to buy more market share, more reputation, and part of that's advertising. Yeah. And that has not changed.
And because you want to buy assets, so you've said to me before that you always look for assets that are low in value. Through advertising, you can add value, can't you?
You can. And marketing, which advertising is always what the people see part of the marketing. And there are a couple of cases at the moment. The one you and I happen to be talking about is Qantas. It's poorly positioned, reputationally poor, service poor, morale poor, share price poor, and.
But you also say, John, if the product's not good enough, your advertiser's not going to sell a crook product. You don't think Qantas's product is that crook, it's not worth getting?
No, I think...
You think there's a small amount of tweaking?
Yes, and the people's morale, the staff morale, there's 20-odd unions. I think you've got to get those union leaders together and say, hey, we're going down the tubes here. We're number 2 or 3 airline in the world. For always. And now we're down here with the, risk your life airlines. I mean, we're all going to have to do this together. We'll look after you better, you're going to look after us better, what's the go? And they're human beings, they're Aussies just like us. They're very proud of Qantas, they're not now. It's a turnaround situation that starts with the people. And if the staff and people is a service business, you turn them around. And remember, you can have all those staff, corporate, in-house nonsense as you want. The best way to get through to those staff, and Dixon was a postmaster at it, as was James Strong, is in the media. Like now they watch TV, so then when they see Strong or they see Dixon or they see Pemberton, that was the best way to get to them. Now they see bad news, and they're out there now and they're hearing nothing but bad news. And if you turn the staff around at Qantas and gave them the same objective as the airline to be number 1 reputationally again, profit would automatically follow, share price and all those other things would follow.
Okay, let's have a look at the ad that you and...
Well, not me.
Well, Alan Johnson has knocked up
Joey,
from Mojo.
Yeah,
You set him the
no,
challenge.
from Banjo.
Banjo.
No, he and I partners.
Yeah, okay, fine, yes.
I said, mate, what would you do? Moving on from I still call Australia home.
Yeah.
And he sat in a room with a guitar, played it himself, and it's his voice reciting My Country, Dorothea Keller. And we had 9 scenes to work with in half an hour. Bang.
Okay, let's just show the product of this. Okay, let's go, guys.
Sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of ragged mountain ranges, of droughts and flooding rains. I love her far horizons. I love her jewel sea, her beauty and her terror, the wide brown land for me. An opal-hearted country, a willful, lavish land. All you who have not loved her, you will not understand. Though earth holds many splendours, wherever I may go, I know to what brown country my homing thoughts will fly.
Yeah, well, what it does for me is it puts the tingle back in advertising, and that's what, I guess, separates ordinary from great advertising.
And also Qantas from ordinary airlines.
Yeah.
Qantas is part of our heritage, part of Australia, and there won't be one paper in Dubai saying Emirates links up with Qantas.
Yeah. Would the theme, John, I still call Dubai home, work? Well, in many ways, I still call Australia home is more relevant now that we are going to be popping to Dubai more often.
You look ahead 10 years, unless we do something quick, you'll be flying Sydney to Melbourne Emirates too. And this isn't a new start for Qantas to tie up with Emirates, the beginning of the end.
Okay, so if you are able to wave the magic wand, what would you do at Qantas then? In a nutshell, just tell us what you do.
Well, everything starts at the top. You have to have I don't even know who's on the board just as well, but you have to have a chairman and a CEO and staff who want to take Qantas back to what it was only 8 years ago. Let's go back to where we were. Let's make this the #1 airline in the world. And everything else will fall into place, I guarantee.
Now, what about the unions, the fact that it is a much more cost-competitive world than it was even when Jeff was there or James was there? How do you get the unions to buy into it, John?
Well, you've got to make the governments buy into it too. We can't have airlines flying here under this silly free trade agreement, paying slave labour wages and expecting Qantas to compete on Australian wages and conditions. So there has to be a departure tax or some kind of, we're going to have a mineral resort tax. Let's have a tax. We don't want to jeopardise tourism either. But let's charge these airlines to come to Australia. So that there's a balancing act, so their cost structure equals ours. We don't want to, we can be more productive in Australia, there's no doubt about that. And my buddies at Qantas, especially, they know they can work harder. They know they can put in more hours. They know they can be more productive. But at the same token, we can't expect them to compete with the $2 a day airlines. So there has to be some government incentive or disincentive for those airlines to fly.
So you're arguing, for example, in the case of Emirates, that there's subsidisation of fuel.
They don't have to make any money whatsoever. They get free petrol. Same as we should get free electricity instead of having carbon tax. Get our coal miners to supply us all with free electricity. I haven't done the sums. That would be the same sort of logic, and it would work. It would work for our industries and would work for Qantas.
Okay.
But we do need, it's not just leadership at at Qantas and the unions as leadership of government as well to rise. Free trade's good, but on a level playing field.
Mate, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thanks, Pete.
And John's thoughts on an interview I did earlier this week will be in the Australian newspaper tomorrow, where he actually did elaborate on some other things. More controversially, I would have thought. Thanks again, John, for joining us on the program. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, after break, with all this talk about Chinese boom and the mining boom being over, my next guest says that the long-term place to put your money is in the share market.